So I'm gonna be making more other content, other videos today, or I'm gonna be recording some other stuff. I want to talk about this first. It's not something I want to get super political on here. I want to talk about maybe things that are more common sense. Things I want to argue the moralities of abortions more than I want to argue the benefits of it, the negatives. The I want to have a real conversation about it. Um, so I thought I'd have this on kind of uh, talking. This is going to be titled something about like the First Amendment, what your rights of freedom of speech really mean, and this is kind of also how to deal with bullies. But I'm going to be doing a bullying one later because that I have something with that versus like Goku versus Superman type of stuff, and I have an actual person who's like bullying people. So I'll go through bullying there, but to give a little background, I was just on. I just catching up on things like I'd seen here and there in pieces, but I went back for some stuff for Joe Rogan since he went off of Spotify, since he went to Spotify. Um, and the video in question here we talk about is Twitter exec explains Milo being banned. Now this is just during when the Twitter exec was there. This is Joe and Tim Pool on the one side, and then the Twitter exec and some other guy. I forget his name. Someone high up at Twitter. Um, and they're having a bunch of conversations about left biased over on the platform. Um, this is a stupid debate with people. I don't understand this whole conversation of that there's a bias with the company and that it's a freedom of speech if they take me off the platform. So these are the two things I'm going to be talking about. What is freedom of speech really? Because a lot of people that live in the U.S. have this misconception about freedom of speech. But unless you've actually known someone who's lived in a country that country not just like that country, because this dude defines it later. This guy that I'm arguing with later on this thing defines this like this. Um, here we go. Our definition of free speech is not the same as what an authoritarian country definition would be. Right? So this is the misconception. Different countries have a different definition of freedom of speech. So I'm not going to Google it. I'm not going to do some condescending. I'm going to go Google let me try to get Dick the Birthday Boy out of here with them. Yeah. Oh, it's Strong Legends. There we go. Far Cry. So freedom of speech. let's get into this. Freedom of speech is not defined differently in America. You have freedom of speech. It's different when you live in a country that doesn't have freedom of speech. So let's go through it. So the Twitter exec and Milo, Twitter exec and the other guy are talking with Joe Rogan and Tim Pool. And first off, I want to say, if you actually listen to Tim Pool, go listen to somebody real. Why are you watching Tim Pool? I watched Tim Pool for a while. There's some things that he doesn't bring up, like bad arguments. He brings up good points. But he mostly bandwagons on other people's like other conservative points. He doesn't really have a conservative view that's his own, unless it's on his own platform. Which that's the bullying aspect. There's a level of if you're attacking someone verbally, physically, emotionally, mentally, over the internet, in person, it doesn't matter. If you're attacking someone in their opinions, and your attack on them is wrong, and A, you get proven and you don't state that it's wrong. You don't accept that you're wrong. And B, you keep on having the same attitude, just either in that same little bubble with that same thing you were just proven to be wrong, or you move on to a different topic where it's the same thing. You're still wrong. You're just arguing with someone for the point of arguing, to be a dick. That's what Tim is. This video just like proves it, but that's what Tim is. Like, he has his own opinions on his show. He goes on his show, he gets to cherry pick. He gets to have on who he wants to have on. He always has on liberals that are now conservative. He never has on like actual liberals in a real discussion with them. It's always only what he wants to actually hear. Unlike Joe. Joe's an actual like independent, middle of ground, more it leads more liberal in certain views, but more conservative in some. He's actually in the middle. He likes having discussion debate. Tim Pool, don't fucking listen to him. So my whole point about this. My whole this dude put some dude up here put this is painful to watch. The Twitter exec looks so foolish. And now in the video, here's what I want to say. Tim Pool goes on about like why was Milo? Because Milo, you can see Milo's in the picture here. I mean, it's about Milo being banned. But he brings up Milo and Alex Jones. He goes, why Milo and Alex Jones? You know, why was Milo taken down? Why was Milo taken down? And this person wasn't taken down, this person, and this liberal person wasn't taken down, blah, 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 blah. So I'm not going to discuss on what the Twitter exec said. You can go watch the video. Go watch the video. Tim Pool goes, what about Milo? And then Twitter exec goes, oh, well, here's Milo. You know, this is what you've been bitching about. So we have all the evidence. Here's step 1. Here's warning 1, warning 2, warning 3. These are the things that he did. This is how we reached out to him. He basically reached back out and said, I don't give a shit. I'm going to keep doing it. So they kicked him off. You know? And then Joe eventually comes around to the point of like, oh, yeah, but, you know, not understanding that there was communication between Twitter and Milo that, hey, you got to stop this shit. And Milo was like, no. So once there, Joe didn't like go and attack them. And then Tim Pool cucked down and went, yeah, you know, well, I don't agree with Milo on everything anyway. It's like if your defense, if you're attacking somebody on why did you censor Milo, then they go, hey, this is why we censored him because A, B, C, and D. He broke our guidelines and our rules, and we communicated with him, and he didn't fucking care, and he kept doing it. And then you're just going, oh yeah, well I don't really care about Milo. I don't agree with Milo, you know. But then what about Chuck, whomever he talks about? And that's his whole argument. And then right after that, right after this, like, oh, what about Chuck so and so? You know, for this one and this one and this one, and Joe turns over and goes, yeah, what about him? Or Joe says something, and Tim goes, oh yeah, that's just tip of the iceberg. Like, why are you somebody that's that cocky and confident after being told that they're wrong is somebody that doesn't accept responsibility. Flat. It doesn't matter whether he's left or right. It doesn't matter whether he's left or right. He's someone who doesn't accept responsibility. So this is a little rant about Tim Pool. Maybe I'll cut this out and maybe I'll put a little timestamp so you can go on. But so let's get into the meat and potatoes of this whole conversation. Okay, so what is freedom of speech? I'm not going to define every single way that you can kind of define freedom of speech. I'm gonna go in the context of this video, right? So after the bully Tim keeps going on and on and on about Milo and about Alex Jones, then she explains. So I'm going to explain in the terms of Alex Jones is actually the perfect person, but we'll start with Milo, and then I'll work my example to Alex Jones. So Milo, why was he taken off the platform, and why isn't this freedom of speech? Are two separate questions, right? They're not answered by the same thing. Why he's taken off the platform is because of company guidelines and rules. Now, whether or not that company didn't apply the same rules to other people because of factor X, whatever X is, whether it's political, whether they know that person, whether they're in the same company with them, whether they share that person's ideals, whether it got slipped between the cracks, whether they looked at it and went, should we do this? No, this doesn't look to be as serious as the same one. Just keep an eye on it. For whatever factor of X, Milo being taken off, or anybody being taken off Twitter or some other platform, is not a hindrance of your freedom of speech. Okay? And here, in her explanation was, Milo did things that broke guidelines. He harassed people, step 1. Step 2, he sent the fake tweet from Leslie Jones, pretending to be, he retweeted something that was a fake tweet from Leslie Jones. And he also knew it was a fake tweet. And when they reached out to him saying that you need to cut the shit, he said no. So, yeah, what did the company do? They took him off. It's not a hindrance of your freedom of speech. And why? Well, let's look at Alex Jones, the other person that Tim Pool brings up, which surprisingly Tim Pool dropped. When the Twitter exec didn't need to talk about Alex, I don't think she needs to talk about Alex Jones. But for anyone who doesn't know who Alex Jones is, right? You remember the Sandy Hook elementary school shooting? Alex Jones was the guy who then got people to harass the parents who just lost their kids in a school shooting, calling them actors. Whatever not method actor, whatever. No, method actor is when you're in role. Crisis actors. I think that's what they're called. Called them crisis actors. Harassed them. Had them harassed. Had people sending them death threats. Okay? He's a despicable, horrible human being. but it doesn't matter. Why? Because what is Alex Jones's whole thing? He harasses people. I've seen videos of TYT. I've seen videos on Joe Rogan where him and Joey Bravo look like they're about to. Joey Bravo looks like he might actually punch him in the face. They look like a full-on UFC brawl is going to happen right there. With a bunch of overweight bald guys. And then there's Joe who's actually in shape. No, Joey's actually in shape. Whatever. You know, Alex Jones's whole shtick is harassment. That's what he does. What is Twitter? Anti-harassment. Doesn't really matter. And everyone who's going to step in with the whole, liberal biases, and you're not taking all these, and this dude in here goes on and on later about something about fucking Kathy Griffin. He's like, what about Kathy? Yeah. So when they discuss Kathy Griffin, blah 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 blah. Like, yeah, but he's saying he's bringing up Kathy Griffin like he's got me. I'm like, I don't agree with what she did. She should have and they even said they didn't take the right approach with her. We should have done things differently, But why isn't this freedom of speech? This is a private platform run by a corporation. Corporation. It's not government run. If it was government run, then you can have strict rules. Hey, doesn't matter of the bias. These are the rules that everyone needs to abide by. It's not. It's private corporations getting determined who has a voice on their personal platform. That's not freedom of speech if they take you off. Because look at Alex Jones. He's banned from whatever, Facebook, Twitter, and everything. Does that mean that he can't go and create his own platform? Does that mean that without even creating his own platform, can he not go on another platform that accepts his types of views and not be taken down? These are like arguments people would say for freedom of speech, but that's not really what freedom of speech is. Freedom of speech is being someone who is outspoken against your government and you have to worry about your life. Yeah, you have to worry about whether or not you're going to be killed, poisoned, shot in the street, taken away in a van. You have to worry about, can I keep my job because of my voice? Not does my job not approve of what I said, but can I keep actually working? Will anywhere not employ me because of what I've done and my stance now with the government? Because the government and whoever pulls the strings in the shadows behind the scenes is not letting me get work. Is that happening? Is Alex Jones still working? Does he still have a platform? Is he still alive? Then he does have basic freedom of speech. And he's allowed on other platforms. So the example I used for this guy in the very end here, try to find it, is I talked about Fox News, essentially, in Apple. Right here. So, right here. So if you go on an Apple forum and you start saying shit to Apple, which, by the way, people have done this. There are people who are in the I forget the movement, Right to Repair. And there's one girl, Jess something. She's been doing repair for years. She went on Apple's forums, and they had lied, and it said that something about data recovery. You can't do data recovery when you're doing something with repairing something on an iPhone. She went on their platform. She didn't harass people. She didn't use bigot sandwich like language. She went on there and said, actually, that's a misconception. I've been doing this for years and multiple times, and this is a lie. I have done data recovery. It is possible. And they took her off the platform. She broke community guidelines. Now, did she harass people? She harassed Apple even? No. She just said, hey, guys, this isn't true. Apple took her off. Why am I okay with now? Am I okay with that? Do I personally like that? I don't personally like that. No. Do I personally like Twitter and all these other places taking off people off their platforms? No. Unless they're actually doing like harassment and guidelines and things that are actually dangerous, which should already be going to like FBI, CIA, which already goes to them anyway. It's like if they're doing something that's not dangerous, they're just having a bad opinion and bad voice, a bad mindset. Keep it on there. Because that's how people know what that person's opinion is. That person can't hide and lie and be a snake in the rest of society for the rest of their lives. They can't do that. I wish everything that Donald Trump ever said was just out there, so that and on video, on tweets. I wish everything except for the last few years was on there, so that you'd have something to go off of. You can remember who somebody was before they are who they are. So, if I go on Apple, just like this Jess woman, and I say something, and they take me off, whether I say their product sucks, they're not the employees aren't knowledgeable, whether I say some sort of racial, sexist, or homophobic slur, or asterisk-phobic slur, whatever, and they kick me off, why are they not hindering my freedom of speech? Because then I can go on an anti-Apple forum, post my same opinion, and it's not going to be taken down by Apple or the government. Because it's my opinion, and I can post it wherever I want. I don't have the privilege to post my opinion wherever, because a lot of places are privately owned or have certain guidelines and things. But that's like saying, oh, you can't go on. Freedom of speech is when you go on 4chan, you post something, and the government's at your door saying you can't say that stuff anymore. That's freedom of speech. Freedom of speech is posting, hey, me making a video, hey, you know what, Donald Trump, I hope you fucking die. And Donald Trump and the government plot to kill me next week. And they do. That's a hindrance of freedom of speech. Like going on Twitter, harassing people, being told to stop, then telling the people who told you to stop, who are, by the way, in charge and get to decide who's on the fucking platform, and you tell them no, basically go fuck yourselves, and you get kicked off. It's not freedom of speech. It's not. If anybody who goes that's a hindrance of freedom of speech, I dare you, whether or not your boss is African American or not, go up to your boss next time you see him, call them the effing N-word. Do it. Get fired, and then have the same conversation, and we can explain why you're allowed to have that opinion wherever you want. Go on a KKK forum. Go on 4chan. Go on InfoWars forums. Go ahead and have that opinion there. But when you have that opinion at the place of your work where they get to decide with certain guidelines and rules whether or not you're allowed to be here, they get to have those biases. Why? Why do corporations get to have these biases? Why do companies get to have these biases? Why is it like this? Well, ladies and gentlemen, especially all you conservatives, it's called capitalism. Free market? Yeah, you know how the company is a person, that whole type of argument? The company as a person gets to decide its own guidelines, who is allowed on its own platform. Yes, there are selective people in charge who have certain biases, but that's the bias of the company. Of course, I'm going to say, like, Twitter's a more left-leaning corporation. There are certain gun manufacturers who are probably more conservative-leaning corporations. Now, if you say things that piss off either of those people, are you going to get kicked off their platforms? Probably. Is it freedom of speech? No. No, it's not. No, it's not. And everyone that wants to bitch are all these conservatives that want to bitch about this. Liberals, if you want to bitch like, oh, we're not there, go create your own fucking platform. Right? Go have your opinion somewhere else. Or if you want to have that opinion and there's something about it that's like keeps flagging off the guidelines, then have the same opinion, just abide by the guideline rule. And if you keep getting taken down, then yeah, it's because of your opinion. And it's still not a freedom of speech because you still have the freedom to have that fucking opinion anywhere else you want. Just not on the private corporate platform. If you don't like this, then why are you for capitalism? Why not just have a committee run by the government that decides, hey, left or right down the middle, these are the guidelines, you have to abide by them. You don't like that? You don't like more government? No? Then what are you bitching about? I don't understand. It's so stupid. It's literally the stupidest argument. We're not jailed or killed or permanently taken off of every platform for our opinions, If you have the opinion that Alex Jones or Milo or Tim Pool, if you have the opinions that Tim Pool has, being somebody who's lives in Turkey against the Turkish government, or lives in Ukraine or Russia or lives in Russia against their government, go ahead, Tim Pool. Try doing the same career as a North Korean or in China. Try spouting democracy and freedom of speech in China and see how quickly you get taken away. This is freedom of speech, you fucking idiots. God damn. It's like it's so stupid. freedom of speech. It's not freedom of speech. Like, Milo's not gone forever. He's not dead. Nobody tried to take him off of everywhere, every single place. It's not freedom of speech. And it's very, very ironic that the people who are always spouting this hindrance of my freedoms, hindrance of my freedom of speech, are the people who put these rules into actions that allowed this shit to happen. It's ridiculous.